Another thing.
Tammy, where did the idea for the 21-day marriage communication challenge come from?
Well, it started about, December of last year. And I decided that I wanted to reach out to the Married and Naked readers. And I wanted to ask you guys what you were struggling most with in your marriage to help guide me on how to help people better. So I asked them, what are you struggling with most? And by far, the answer that I got in return was communication. Time after time, they said communication was their biggest challenge. And it was in various areas of their life, but communication was that point that they were struggling with most. So I started to write about it, and then I just decided that you and I have learned so much about communication. We put such a major focus on communication in our marriage. We still do. We still work on it. Every time we have an argument or disagreement, we're always trying to come back to these strategies we've learned. So I feel like I had learned a lot, and I wanted to share that. It was a great opportunity to share that. And 21 days, you've heard, and whether it's true or not, you hear that 21 days is what it takes to change habits. So I wanted to help people change habits and have that start point of changing communication by having to focus on it for 21 days. It's a big commitment. But if you do something for 21 days, you're certainly going to have to think about it. The next day that 21 ends, you're going to think, oh, I need to continue on working on this over and over. At least that's my hope. So that's where it started. And so I decided to put together the challenge, and it winds up being like a course where I'm trying to help teach people all of these strategies that you and I have learned about how to communicate better in various aspects of marriage.
When you reached out to the Married and Naked community, were you surprised that this was the number one topic that they were struggling with?
That's a good question. I thought about that a lot. I was a little bit to begin with, because I thought that the answers I would get would be, we struggle most with money, or we struggle most with sex, or we struggle most with parenting issues. And I got that too. But what I noticed in those responses was that communication was that reason why that was such a struggle. And so I was thinking about our relationship and realizing that everything in our marriage, if there's that underlying foundation of communication, right? If that foundation isn't strong, if you don't know how to talk about money, then you're going to struggle. If you don't know how to talk about sex, you're going to struggle. If you don't know how to communicate about your kids and get on the same page with each other, you're going to struggle. So I realized, because of them having that response, that they're right. Communication really is that foundation. Everything comes back to how you talk to each other, how you listen to each other, how you work through disagreements. All of it comes back to that. So it began to be very important to talk about that part and help build that part, so that once you kind of have that foundation of how to talk to each other, then talking about all those other things and working through all those other challenges become just a little bit easier.
Absolutely. Did you look out there to see if there were other either courses or books or other teachings on the topics of communication?
Of course there are. Yeah, of course. Other people realize how important communication is, but I needed to come to it from a perspective of me and our relationship, because that's what I'm trying to stay honest to. Is everything I'm sharing is not something I'm pulling from a book or another course that I've taken. It's something that we've actually lived and breathed in our own home, that we figured out or not figured out, or we're still working through. I've shared in the challenge many things that I still struggle with, many things that you struggle with, or things that maybe we've recently worked through, but it's all honest and coming from a place of experience. And I think that that's what sets it apart from a lot of other books or challenges, because it's us, it's experience, it's a real marriage, and it's the same kinds of challenges that everybody else is facing out there. We just maybe have a little bit of a head start on how to get through some of those challenges.
What would be your if somebody goes through the challenge, what would be your hope, that the takeaway that they're after day 22? How do you envision the couple or the relationship waking up?
Well, I mean, in a magical world, you wake up and ta-da, communication is on par, and you don't ever have to argue again, and you're just, good to go forever.
Doesn't happen here, by the way.
Obviously, I understand that that's not a realistic expectation. What I hope is that by going through it, you realize that there are many things in your relationship that you want to improve and that you have come to an understanding as a couple that there's many things to work on. I hope that you've decided on some of those things that you want to move forward and improving in your marriage. And I hope that most importantly that they realize that marriage must be a priority. And I think that that's part of why I do what I do, and is because I believe in the foundation of marriage. I believe that if you have a healthy marriage, happy marriage, it builds for happy homes and happy children and happy lives and all of that. So I believe that keeping that foundation really strong is really important. And by doing that, you have to make your marriage a priority. Must be a priority every single day. And I hope that by listening to the videos and hearing some of the tips and tricks that we've learned, that they come away with realizing, okay, that we need to get this on track. We need to make sure that this marriage of ours is priority, that we need to set some things aside. If we're struggling with communication, we're worried about our marriage, that's a big red flag. We better set something aside and focus on this and really hone in and improve so that we can get this foundation back to being strong and move forward to, you know, the joy and happy and bliss that marriage really does and can bring. But you got to get past a lot of that stuff that can drag you down.
Wow. Do we say that's a wrap? Is that cut? I don't know what that is. You did so good, babe.
Thank you, baby.
My gosh.
Love you.
Love you.